Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining Sandra P's Gen Extra. I am back. This is going to be a pre record because I realized I never tied up the Golden Bachelor, Mr. Mel Owens, and all those beautiful ladies. So I do apologize for that. This is a pre record. But as always, when I premiere, I will be live in the chat. So those of you that made it through season 2, congratulations, because I barely did. I did make it through. I've heard a lot of criticisms of Mr. Mel Owens, the Golden Bachelor, and I could kind of see why that was taking place. And we'll just go through it. We'll go through a little bit. I don't know where to put this stand. Let's see. I'll just hold my phone and put the stand there for my notes. So we end up, this is season 2, episode 9. This is the finale and the final rose ceremony. Also, they do kind of a little mini reunion immediately after. So thank you so much for joining Sandra P's Gen Extra. Welcome. And I'll just say, please like and subscribe if you have not already. And I thank you so much for watching. We have Mel and Cindy. They are still in Antigua. Mel is playing around with Cindy, in my opinion. And she's smarter than that. She's quicker than him. All the ladies actually were quicker than Mel, in my opinion, because he told us admittedly he had been out of the game for some time. He was married over 25 years. His wife is the one that divorced him, and he is looking to get back into a relationship. But we find out during the course that he's not really going to make a commitment. Mel said that at one point. So Cindy is telling him that is what she's there for. We know Cindy told us on the last episode she wants her guy to feel like he got struck by lightning. And Cindy has every right to that. Mel is saying he doesn't operate like that. And then Mel had the nerve to say, you have a choice too. I think he thought Cindy was going to beg him or back off. She didn't. Cindy says, I get it. I do have a choice. Cindy did a confessional with us and let us know that Mel doesn't appear that he's going to make a commitment after this process. The process was clear that at the end, there is a commitment made, even if just to, I'll continue to date. She can't get that from Mel. Mel's blaming it on Peggy still being in the process. Cindy correctly identifies that's not what it really is. So I think Mel is used to women begging him. And when he said that you have a choice, she's supposed to say, oh, pick me, not Cindy. Cindy's a different kind of woman. So Cindy picks herself. Cindy says she is leaving. After he said, you have a choice, Cindy says, I get it. Cindy decides she'll be leaving in the morning. So Mel's genuinely shocked. He's also shocked that she didn't go into the fantasy suite with him. And he kept saying, there's things I can't say to you that I can say without the cameras, behind closed doors. So he wanted to be able to lay up in the bed like he did with Peggy in his fantasy suite. And Cindy's not going for that without certain assurances. I have to say, I agree with Cindy. I loved what went on with him and Peggy. I love their relationship. I like the dating. I like the fantasy suite. Cindy is a different woman. And she just didn't feel right with that and let him know, I do have a choice and I'm choosing me. So Cindy turned into Cookie and said, I've got to choose me, Lucius. So Mel tells Jesse Palmer, who's absolutely shocked. Y'all know how much I like Jesse Palmer. He's so friendly. He's Canadian. He used to play football. He was a bachelor back in the early 2000s. So he really have not seen something go on, like not according to plan. Because we know this show is reality, but it's pretty produced. So Mel tells Jesse, Cindy's leaving. And Jesse was like, what? So you try to convince her to stay? What'd you talk about? You didn't have any other conversations? Mel's adamant. I did try to tell Cindy where she stood, but we just could not come to the same decision. Cindy made her choice, and I respect her choice. I respect her choice too. So Cindy did not go to that fantasy suite. Cindy and her beautiful daughters are there on her side. Y'all, we are back at studio audience. Jesse is on the stage with Mel. Her daughters are in the audience with some of her son-in-laws, their fiancés. And Cindy tells Jesse Palmer, she got a big applause from the audience, especially the ladies. The ladies saw this side of Mel throughout their whole journey. I didn't until maybe closer to the end. So Mel Owens, I'm a little shocked. Someone in the chat called him, I believe it was Cece, one of my moderators, called him a silver fox. And he is. Foxy silver and foxy in appearance and in behavior. You kind of cagey, Mel Owens. I didn't see it. But a lot of people criticized him. They did see it. I didn't. So Cindy tells us her heart is wide open. There's so much she learned on this journey. She and Mel were not really aligned. She tells us she was willing to move to Malibu. She has a daughter in California that she would have loved to have been closer to, but she knew they would still be dating. Mel is trying to act like and tell people that Cindy was like, after this, you give me a wedding ring and we propose. And she never said that. And she just keeps stressing that she was ready for a commitment. Mel keeps saying that there was another person there. Cindy's saying, I was just trying to get reassurance from him that he's willing to make a commitment, not just to me. They bring Mel out. The audience kind of cool on Mel, y'all. The audience was on Cindy's side. I'll have to say that. And it was awkward because the audience could see Mel for his works. To me, I think Mel's like, I got these 23 women here. I'm living it up. Because Mel, with his personality, he's laid back to me, and his profession. He used to be a professional football player in the NFL for over a decade. I can no longer remember how long, but it was a pretty long time. And he is probably used to women chasing him. And even at his age, he thinks he's qualified for a much younger woman. And he may be. He said he was looking for 45 through 60. Mel is a not quite young 66. So all these women were quicker than him, more able-bodied, in my opinion, than him. But Mel looks in the mirror and sees something different. He was playing with Cindy. Cindy said throughout the process, Mel kept saying, I believe my wife is here. And he did. Production would show us that because they love that kind of over-the-top romance. He was saying that. And then toward the end, he's saying, that's not the way I move. Well, then, Mel, why were you saying that? So I like what Cindy did. And then the camera keeps panning on Debbie. Debbie is nodding her head in agreement. Debbie was the next to the last one. They had a very successful home visit. I think Debbie had fallen in love with Mel. Mel sent her home. They put the camera on Cheryl. Cheryl went through the same thing. He and Cheryl were very close. She got a rose early on, and Mel did the same thing with her, kind of stringing along. Cheryl says the same thing, that they had a lot of excellent women who were serious about looking for love, looking for their last partner to settle down with. Mel still feels like, to me, he got a lot of left in the tank, y'all. And I don't see it. But I just remember his comments, and I should have been in, see what the other people saw earlier, but I didn't. I feel like Cindy was too young for him. Cindy's 61, but I think she's too young for Mel. I think Peggy is how active she is in her lifestyle. Firefighter, bomb diffuser, a lot of things. She's in Vegas. I'm speaking about their lifestyle. I think Peggy might be too young for Mel. Because of the way Mel sees himself, he sees them as aligned and as a match. I don't know. So I like Mel Owens, but I don't know if this was the forum for him with the 23 women, if he's still that cautious at the end. And I think he felt like he didn't need to give assurances to any of the women. But why would you date a woman in your 60s and you dating someone with no assurances? Peggy told him in Antigua, I don't have time to mess around. I'm 61 years old, so I don't blame her. So Peggy is excited to see Mel. The sons are still coming. Mel knocks on the door first, and Peggy is like, oh, she's kind of shocked to see him. And he says, my sons are still coming, but I have something to tell you. And she gets kind of nervous, like, what's wrong? And he said, Cindy is taking herself out of it, and she's left Antigua. Peggy's, are you kidding me? I can't believe it. So Peggy is a little bit shocked. Peggy was cute. Peggy was dressed in her little white short shorts and her top, her little signature wedge-heeled sandals. She gets in the confessional and says she doesn't know what's going on, but it kind of concerns her about him not being able to make a commitment because of what happened with Cindy. He tells her that Cindy was asking questions. He just was not prepared for the answers. And he says she wanted him to commit to a proposal. She's looking for marriage. Now, Mel, I don't know that you're classifying correctly what Cindy said. And he has done this before. I don't like him doing this, painting Cindy like she's some desperate bride, and she's not. That is not what she was saying. So Cindy left before the overnight visit. Peggy said, stop it. I love the way Peggy gossiping. Peggy gets in the confessional and says, all I know that Cindy did have specific questions Mel couldn't answer. It makes me nervous. So Peggy sides with Cindy a little bit. She says she has a right to those things. Mel saying, yeah, And then the audience is also agreeing with Peggy. We go back, we're watching it with the audience. They go back to Antigua, and then the audience is watching and reacting. So Mel's getting a little nervous. I still want me and you. And I don't want you to think that, well, you're just the last one and, it's automatic. I don't think Peggy thought that. Cindy took herself out. That didn't really clear the way for Peggy. Mel could still choose himself, which we know. I think he was considering that. So we get to meet Lucas and Andre, two good-looking young men in their 20s. They are Mel's sons. They have a lot more personality than Mel. Confessional Mel's walking on the beach. He says he was shocked at Cindy's choice, but he's excited by Peggy. Also, his college friend Diane, very friendly. She went to the University of Michigan with Mel, and she's going to be his kind of lifeline to talk to it's supposed to be the final two, but Peggy said no final two, going to be one. Peggy. Well, Cindy left. So the boys asked, how are the girls? I thought that was cute. Mel says, well, they were 23. Now we're down to one. The boys said, wait a minute, 2 or 1? 1 or 2? He says, well, it was 2, but there's 1. One took herself out of it. She was asking, are we going to get married at the end or not? And now there's one person. So Mel's still giving this narrative that I don't think it's true. One of them was funny. I don't know if it was Lucas or Andre. He bugged his eyes out. He said, so she left? And Mel was like, yeah. He said, were you sad? Like, oh my God. And Mel said, yeah, I respect that. Diane is the friend. Now she's a woman. So she said, yeah, I respect that. I respect it too. She said she knew enough about herself to know that I'm not going to continue being strung along. So Diane tells us in a confessional that she could tell that Mel struggled with Cindy leaving because he has a huge heart that some people can't see because he is analytical. Now, remember, Mel Owens is an attorney as well. After his NFL career, he's an attorney. And Peggy says that, well, Peggy's looking forward to meeting the boys. We see Peggy again. Peggy says she can relate to smart and good looking. She is also on the bomb squad. So that's another reason why they're a match. They both describe themselves as analytical. The son is talking about Peggy. Oh, she's a badass then. Mel says, yeah, she is. Mel claims that she's his speed. She's actually quicker than you, Mel, in my opinion, but you can claim Peggy is your speed. So Peggy arrives with flowers. Mel meets her on the beach. He's joking. Are these for me? She said, no, of course. They're not. They're for Diane. Peggy's excited to meet the boys. They're excited to meet her. And she says, kids are a reflection of you. So she can tell how they are. With her, it's kind of how Mel raised them to be. And they seem like really nice young men. I like them. Peggy says, well, when we first met, I was doing cannonballs in the swimming pool. The guys are laughing. Mel's like, me too, me too. He was not. Peggy said, you were not doing no cannonball. I was glad she called him out. And the son was, yeah, I don't see you doing a cannonball. So the boys asked, what do you think about him in general? Peggy says, we're a lot alike. We're both divorced. When I divorced, I didn't bring anyone else into my life to be around my daughter. I respect the fact that he did that for his sons. So they talk about that. Peggy brought a little game. She said, I want to do a word association. And then it's kind of either or. And so the sons are game. Diane's in it too. Okay, the word, she says, accountability or avoidance. They claim accountability. She says, funny or serious. Both, they say. So Mel can be funny and he can be serious. I like that answer. Emotional or analytical. They say analytical, but he can be emotional. He can show his heart if you find it. So that was a good answer too. We get a confessional with Lucas. Lucas is saying he was anxious that morning, but now he feels kind of relieved. So Peggy, her impression that she made on them, she relieved the anxiety. So that was really good. I like that conversation with Peggy. And the sons seem to trust Peggy's motives. I trusted Cindy's motives as well. She just wasn't on the same page with Mel. So I think the right ladies made it to the end. Also, Debbie, possibly Cheryl would have been a fit. The only one I was really concerned about was Nicole, but he had a lot of excellent choices. They brought someone, I cannot remember her name. She brought a new man to the audience. She's already dating. They had Gary there from season 1. Gary got the nerve to already be engaged to someone else after Teresa divorced him. So these golden bachelors that they choose are something else. They said that Peggy was fun. She was super personal. They could talk to her as a friend. They feel like Mel matches her vibe. And there's good energy. Mel says great energy, great person. So Lucas asks, what's the one thing that says this is the girl? Mel says that, well, she was interested in meeting you guys and he wanted her to meet them. So his young children, his young adults still factor in very strongly to Mel's life. So Mel says, we got along swimmingly. We're getting the approval from you guys, which means a lot. And Diane says it means a lot to her too. She and Peggy walk off, they sit, they have their lemon water. Diane saying, you're in your 60s, you've already settled, you've already have your family, and it's just a matter of how you're trying to bring it all together. Peggy says, yes, that is exactly what it is. Diane saying again, Mel has a big heart, but an analytical brain. Peggy saying, yeah, you can't talk yourself out of things though. So Diane thinks they're a great match. I think they're a pretty good match too. I mean, I think Mel at the end was deliberate about the choices he was making. I just didn't like how he wasn't able to express himself. And I don't blame Cindy for doing what she did. I would have left too. So Diane says, energy wise, he is you. And then she said, well, Meg, she said, I've combined you guys' name already. I'm calling you Mel and Peg, I'm calling you Meg. So they laugh. Diane meets with Mel and lets her old college friend know that she likes Peggy for him. And Mel said he loves that she's upbeat. She has that great personality. Diane said, yeah, that's you. Diane said, I liked her a lot. Mel said he's happy. So this does look like a real relationship. I was curious to see what happens after the fact. Mel said he really likes her. Her heart's in the right spot. And he doesn't want to mess it up. So they all get back together again. Mel saying, well, how are these guys? Kind of like, how did my kids act? Did they act up? Peggy said they were great. And they were perfect gentlemen, but they were asking serious questions. Peggy says, I'll go with them and we might invite you. Peggy's always joking. And of course, Mel, what about me? She said, I don't know about you yet. So I thought that was funny. So they all hugged goodbye. Peggy says it let her see how Mel really is. And that really went well. So he tells Peggy, sleep well. He watches Peggy walk away in her little shorts and her red sandals. Go, Peggy. So Jesse Palmer says Mel introduced someone finally to his sons. He's proved to Peggy he's ready for love. Peggy is convinced that, I don't know what Peggy was convinced of. I'm sorry, y'all, I lost that note. But Jesse says, we'll be right back. Jesse is so serious about this finale. I love it. Jesse says the sons visited. Peggy was really revealing. Antigua has come to an end and we are down to one choice. How will Mel's story end? So Peggy says it's an important day. She doesn't know if Mel's analytical brain can get there. She does want commitment. They both had heartbreak, but she is open. She doesn't want her heart to break again, but she is open to opening her heart again. After her divorce, she said she was hurt so many times. I know her ex-husband's watching this saying he fumbled. Peggy's a great, great lady. So she's crying. We have such a bond together. It's absolutely amazing. Peggy is in this orange, like geometric dress. And Mel's looking very handsome. He has a navy suit on and a crisp white shirt. So Mel is on a boat to go to the beach where he's going to meet Peg. Peg's on a boat going to the same beach to meet Mel. Mel arrives at the beach and jumped onto the sand in his white Herman Munster sneakers. So they're for all occasion, I guess, Mel, casual and formal. So they show us this beautiful beach. We see a table with the golden rose lying on the table. Jesse and Peggy talk. Jesse Palmer, the host, and he asks about after meeting the boys and Mel meeting her daughter in Vegas, could she see their lives merging? And Peggy says yes, and it would be seamless. So Mel says he's here now at the end with Peg, and that's how it was meant to be. She is beautiful and funny. He just compliments Peggy. So they had pulled up on the beach in their boats in a confessional. Mel says, I just love Peggy. This is the first time we've heard this from Mel, y'all. He said he loves being around her. He's ready. And the audience pans to the daughter. They show Debbie. She's smiling. All the different ladies are clapping and smiling. So Peggy is one of the popular ladies in the house. They did really like her. So we see Mel and Peggy holding each other by the waist and by the shoulder. And Mel saying, this is us. Peggy said she and Dakota work on their vision boards. That's her daughter every year. And her love story had not come true yet, but she was open to it. All this changed. It's been fun. It's been exciting. From the Ocean County Fair where they were dancing the KC and the Sunshine Band all night to Mel coming to Vegas and meeting her family. Basically recounts the season. her love affair with Mel and how it all ended. And it did seem like a real relationship. So even though we're watching it on TV, it did seem real. So Peggy says she absolutely loves him, and the fact that he prioritizes the boys. So they flash and they show Lucas and a brother, and we do see that it's real relationship. Peggy says she's not looking for anyone to sweep her off her feet. Peggy, was that a dig at Cindy? I don't know that Cindy was looking for that. She just wanted a certain type of love, more fire than what Peggy was looking for. She said she didn't want anyone to sweep her off her feet. She was able to take care of herself, and she's always done that. And said prior to meeting him, she wants someone who can take the wheel, but she's going to drive the buggy from time to time as well. She has met someone that she can love again. And then Mel is telling us separately on this journey. He reflects on the same journey, listening to her, falling in love with Peggy. He loves to listen to her talk about her family, the sacrifices that she's made, and that she trusted him. He said he trusted her. And she told him that she had confidence that he would make the right choice. And she did tell him that early on. They used to have conversations instead of some of the women like Nicole are just looking to start kissing Mel all in the face. And I think Mel fell into that trap a little earlier. But I think Peggy and Cindy were really good choices to come to the end. So he reached in his pocket, everybody, pulls out a black box. And he said, this represents our commitment. So he can commit. He just wouldn't commit to Cindy. And then they start playing I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. And the audience is smiling. It is a beautiful ring. Peggy looks at it. She agrees. She said, we're completely on the same page with that. He puts the ring on her finger. Peggy's got a cool ring. I mean, a cool tattoo right by her ring. It's right by the thumb. So Mel says, I've got the perfect one right here. She said, I got the perfect guy. He said, one more thing. He picks up the golden rose, of course, for purposes of the show, and he gives it to her. Will you accept this final rose? She said, of course I will. So this was so romantic, everybody. They kissed as they kind of sway a little bit to the music, and they're playing I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. So Peg says, I'm not sure. I'm not for everybody. He's not for everybody, but we are for each other. And then they pan back to the crowd who is smiling and clapping. Jesse says, we'll be right back. So Jesse introduces them for the first time, Mel and Peg. Let me see if I can show y'all this picture. I'm sorry about how small it is. Let's see. I didn't make time because I forgot about it, but that's Peggy and Mel at the end. They look happy. Make sure I get her. I loved Peggy, had a beautiful turquoise earrings on and all that. She looks kind of like Nicole there, but that's Peggy at the end, y'all. That's Peggy. Okay, there's herself. She looks herself now. But they were both grinning from ear to ear. I believe it. I believe the relationship. So that was the end, everybody. Everybody claps. They introduce them as Mel and Peggy. They are the final couple. They are a couple. So she lives in Vegas. He lives in the Malibu area. So they are actively dating. We see video of them. Peggy said they work out together. We see video of them working out together, cooking out on grill. Mel still saying he loves her energy, her get up and go. And that's why he fell in love. We get the Neil Lane ring is showcased again. Neil Lane is actually in the audience, y'all. So he's a jeweler. Jesse asked about the proposal, and Peggy says the best thing about connection is you get to do what you want to do with your family. And Jesse says, you keep talking about love. Are you in love? They both said, yes, they are in love. So she knew she was a person to watch for. And he said, I'm in love. She said, I'm in love with him 100%. And Jesse says, you got to this point, you made it. Peggy says, you know how it is because you've done it. It's not easy because remember, Jesse was a bachelor back in the day. I can't remember how his season ended or if I even watched. I was a casual viewer throughout the seasons. My last season might have been Rachel Lindsay because it started to get kind of strange after that. When they had the one bachelor that picked the lady that was at the plantation parties and he was the first Black bachelor. Come on, y'all. I stopped watching it. And then Rachel no longer has affiliation, even though we know Rachel Lindsay as Bachelor Nation. She no longer really has affiliation with them. Different things have happened over the years. And Jesse Palmer was actually chosen as host after, the other hosts couldn't stop making comments that were not appropriate. So Jesse gives them credit for being themselves throughout. Jesse says a handful of people walking have ever been through what they have been through. And Jesse tosses it to others who've been through what we've been through. They got a new bachelorette coming up. They're going to talk to her. They gave us Gary. Gary says, well, Mel needs no advice, but it's great to have another person go through the journey. That was smart, Gary, because we don't want to hear from you. I don't like how he treated Teresa. And he's on his second wife. This pretty young lady getting ready to marry this fool again. So y'all, that's it for me. They're coming back with the Bachelorette, which as I said, I'm a casual viewer. I'm not going to watch this next young lady go through this. And this was pretty good. It was a good finale. It was a good, because Cindy actually, she kind of upended everything and threw everything on its head. So it was a good finale, a good final rose. I do actually believe the relationship between Mel Owens and Peggy. I don't know where they are now or if it's still real, but they did show us video of them kind of merging their lives together. So everybody, thank you for coming through season 2 with me. Sandra Peace Gen Extra. I appreciate that so much. And let me just end showing you Mel Owens. I hope I have a picture with him and Peggy on it that I can place as a backdrop. No, that's actually him and Nicole. I'm not even going to show that. I'll show the one that had all the ladies. Get down myself off the layout. So there is Mel Owens and what he started with, y'all, 23 ladies down to 2. Cindy took herself out, rightfully so. And Peggy ended up, y'all, that's Peggy over Mel's immediate right shoulder. So, wow, that is interesting. Yeah, that's Peggy. Peggy ended up making it all the way to the end, and she is currently dating Mel, as far as we know, the day before Thanksgiving, from what we know. So, everyone, thank you so much for joining Sandra Peace Gen Extra. Thank you so much for following through season 2 with me of The Golden Bachelor. Again, this is a premiere, but I will be live in the chat. I appreciate your time. I hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving, Turkey Day, Friendsgiving, whatever you want to call it. But I appreciate you as always. And again, this is a premiere, so I'll be live in the chat, but not responding, of course, to anything that comes through other than in chat form. But thank you. I will see you in the YouTube streets. Goodbye, everybody.